So this is really the crucial period now, 29 to 33. Okay, so this is when they kind of go from a well-known party that's doing okay to really taking over power. So March 1930, the Mueller government falls because they can't deal with the Depression. Okay, they simply don't have the power or the means to do anything. They just can't agree on what the right action is to be. They fight, they're a coalition, one of them withdraws, they fall. Bruning becomes Chancellor. Alright, Bruning's quite important because here's the first one, as it says, July 1913, he uses Article 48 to pass his budget. And why does he have to use Article 48? Because it is unpopular. It's deflationary. I'll try to be brief and as simple as possible. There's two ways you can deal with the Depression as a government. You can either use deflationary measures or inflationary measures. What do I mean by that? As a government, you can try and cut spending as much as humanly possible, or you can increase spending and try and kickstart the economy. All right. Obviously, the problem with inflationary, you have to borrow money to do it. So a lot of people say don't do it. Okay. He did deflationary measures. He cut heaps of government programs, lots of government spending. It was very, very unpopular. Okay, as you can see, by March 1931, unemployment reaches 4.9 million. At its peak, we're looking at 1 in 3 men aren't employed. So 1 in 3 unemployed. Huge. And by July 1931, so a year later, he's using Article 48 again and again and again and again to pass economic bills. Which means the Parliament, the Parliament does not have confidence in him. And he's having to just ignore them every time and say, no, this is an emergency. I call Article 48 powers to pass these bills, and just ignore what the Reichstag is saying about him. Okay, so it's really opening up the use of Article 48 later on. So, 29 to 33, what's happening? October 31st, there's a meeting between Hindenburg, who is the president, and Hitler, who is an up-and-coming political star, and they don't like each other at all. Hitler thinks Hindenburg's an old fudgy kind of old codger guy who doesn't really do anything and is just, didn't win the war for them and so popular, whereas Hindenburg thinks he's this young guy that doesn't deserve what he's gotten to be where he is. They don't like each other at all. So, March 1932, presidential elections. Hitler takes on Hindenburg. Okay, there's no clear winner, so they do them again in April 1932, this time Hindenburg wins re-election as president quite handily. I think it's maybe, from memory, 8 million to 5 million or something like that. So Hindenburg wins re-election as president, so he's finished his term in April 32. In May 32, the Bruning government falls. Von Papen becomes the Chancellor. The president is the person that appoints the Chancellor. Okay? Usually, by convention, he appoints the leader of the party that has the most votes in the Reichstag. That makes sense. If it's coalition government, he appoints the leader. So that doesn't last very long, as you can see. Papen becomes Chancellor in May 1932. In June, the Reichstag is again dissolved because they can't agree. Okay, so you remember me talking about this idea that every time there's a disagreement, the coalition falls, they have to vote again. This is after the stability of the Stresemann era. Okay, this is an era where there is a whole lot of, because there's a lot of social unease, there's unemployment, no one's got any money, they're trying to deal with the depression, they're trying to pay off loans, etc., etc., etc. So it's a very politically volatile time, and Hitler's in there amongst the whole time, saying we need clear leadership, we need strong leadership, these guys aren't doing it right, etc., etc., etc. So by July 1932, Hitler has won 230 seats in the election. He is most definitely the majority party, and he is offered vice-chancellorship. He rejects it. He goes, no way. We've got 230 out of 530-odd. Why on earth would I take the vice-chancellorship? So in September 1932, the Reichstag meets and is immediately dissolved. Hitler goes, not happy. So they meet, 230 Nazi members immediately walk out and say, this is a farce, our leaders should be given chancellorship. We're having new elections. So November, they have new elections. As you can see by, when I say it's a volatile time, they're having elections, every 2 months kind of thing. And every single election, has violence in the streets. The SA is going up against the communist military wing of the party, and the Centre Party is, do you know what I mean, is complaining about voter fraud and people getting beaten up in the streets every single time there's an election. So it's a really politically volatile time. In the new elections, Hitler, despite the Nazis going from strength to strength to strength and reaching 230 seats in July 1932, they actually decline. They actually don't get enough seats. All right, they were really hoping during that election, the November 32 elections, to get a majority, and they actually declined. Not heaps, but a bit. And it's obviously a decline because they've been growing. So it's quite a decline. But von Papen resigns. So they get Kurt von Schleicher, to take over in December 1932, and he becomes the Chancellor instead of Hitler once again. Remember, it's Hindenburg making these appointments. Okay, so Hindenburg is going, no, I'm not making you Chancellor. No, I'm not making you Chancellor. In January 1933, von Papen and Hitler meet to discuss a political alliance, because von Papen and Hitler both hate Schleicher. So it's the classic, your enemy's enemy is my friend. Yeah, has everyone heard that concept? Yeah. Okay, so von Papen and Hitler both hate Schleicher, and they're not really fond of each other either. Von Papen is your classic diplomat who's very experienced, very well spoken. He would look at the Nazi party and see a bunch of chicken farmers and all the other riffraff that they came from and just go, oh, these uneducated, you riffraff, roughshod people coming in and trying to lead a country. Are you kidding me? He was quite educated and well brought up, etc., etc. But he hated von Schleicher. So they work together and they make sure that von Schleicher's government falls. So off it goes. Hitler is now appointed Chancellor by Hindenburg under the influence of von Papen. So von Papen says to Hindenburg, that's okay, I've got him. You make him Chancellor, I'll be Vice-Chancellor, I'll control him. Okay, I know you don't want to have him as Chancellor. That's okay. I'm experienced. I'm the one that's got the education. I know the way it's gone, the way the things go around here. Just make him Chancellor. I'll be Vice, and I'll sort it out.
So what was
So, by the end of January 1933, Hitler is Chancellor of Germany. He's now in a position to start German politics, or shaping German politics, and he's got himself thus far legally there. Has nothing dodgy. He's legally now the Chancellor. Despite his electoral success declining, he is now the Chancellor. So far he's used democratic forces in Germany against themselves. Okay? He's used democratic forces to get into a position of power so that he can undermine democratic forces. Okay? He's used democratic forces against themselves, and he's gotten this far. So a few things stand in his way of full power. The army. The army is not a big fan of his SA. They're not a big fan of the Sturmarbeit. Okay, they really think they are just a bunch of rabble-rousers, brawlers. They're not respectable at all. They don't believe the party's respectable. The leadership of the army are well-educated men. They're all officers. They don't like Hitler. Hitler's not even German. He's Austrian. So the armies, the Reichswehr is in his way. He's also got the democratic system, which is in the way. So he's Chancellor alone. He's not president. He's not the most powerful man. He can't just say, I'm going to do this. He still has a constitution that he has to uphold and that he has to work within his powers as Chancellor. And finally, Hindenburg himself is still more powerful than him and doesn't like him at all. So he's still got a couple of things in the way of becoming a full, his full power, as much power as he wants. So, thus, it was through the political intrigue and manoeuvrings of the powerful traditional interests in Germany that Hitler had finally achieved his dream of gaining legal power in Germany. Okay, got that? So it's the political intrigues of the upper class, the traditional power bases, fighting amongst themselves, allowed him to rise up and gain a position of quite a lot of power.